Hello and welcome to Horror Court Trash Over, the show that discusses all of the masterpieces and trashterpieces of genre cinema. I'm Gary.
And I'm Chris.
And today we bring you something.
It's something. Yes.
We bring you the most requested film since we started this podcast. Early on, we put out a thing for requests, and this one came up a few times. Recently, Ben Horror on social media said that we should cover it. And here we are. We're finally covering it. And I tell you what, this is absolutely a new favourite of mine. This is... I don't even know. This is going to be an interesting episode trying to discuss this.
Yeah. So last week when Xtro was mentioned, the film's Xtro, by the way. Gary said that the sort of feedback we'd had on Xtro, or the sort of comments, were that you don't try to explain it, you don't try to understand it, you just go with the flow and you let it happen. So that's how I went into it, and I think it helped.
We got a tweet today from General Witchfinders podcast, and they said that the listeners made you watch that as well, did they? Listeners are sadists. Do you know what? I appreciate the tweet. I don't think Xtro is a bad film.
Oh,
I don't think it's bad.
Oh, it's not good, ladies.
I don't know, because I kind of feel like it's that fine line between bad and trash. Like there's a very fine line between the two. Bad, I would put into the category of films that are boring, just not very good at all, and just haven't got anything going for them. Even calling this trash feels like a trash to piece, but a trash to piece by design. I don't know. It's so difficult to describe.
The thing is, though, when I look at it, and I try and be subjective, and my enjoyment of trash to piece bad films is different to other people's enjoyment.
Yeah.
So I do understand that it is not a good film, because everything that is entertaining is bad. It is bad.
Is it?
It is.
I don't know.
It's not. If it was by design to be bad,
well,
I would look at it in a different way.
Okay, well, let's come back to this after we've had a bit of trivia.
Yeah, let's learn a bit about
First of all, it's Xtro from 1982.
Yes.
Written and directed by Harry Bromley Davenport, who made Whispers of Fear, Xtro 2 and 3, which I cannot wait to watch, Erasable You, Waking Up Horton, Life Among the Cannibals, Mockingbird Don't Sing, Haunted Echoes, Smile Plenty, Frozen Kiss, American Grand, and Mike Garson and his 88 Friends.
Okay.
So, Harry Bromley Davenport stated in an interview on the DVD release that he looks back on the film with embarrassment.
Yeah, I can understand.
Saying that the bizarre atmosphere of the film was completely unintentional, and that there is no deeper symbolic meaning to the strange random events that happen, because he and his co-writers were so high on drugs whilst writing the script to the point they would often throw in whatever random ideas popped into their heads or thought would be neat, such as the panther scene and the toy soldier coming to life. Davenport has also said that despite being unhappy with the film, he is somewhat proud of its reputation for being a disgusting and bleak horror movie. So this entire thing is a product of a bunch of people on drugs in a room just making a film.
Which makes sense. And to some people, that's not a good thing. To others, that's a great thing.
So were you not entertained?
Hell!
The entire
bitch,
film.
I was entertained.
And we don't want any spoilers for the end of the episode, because you've got to keep people listening. But
yeah.
Did you rate this out of enjoyment or out of filmmaking?
I rated it half and half.
Okay.
It's somewhere in between.
I have rated this fully out of enjoyment.
Out of enjoyment. Okay.
It's not 5 stars, but there's an argument for it to be 5 stars.
But this is the argument. When you look at something like Letterboxd, and you see a film, notorious film, The Room, so many people give it either half a star or 5 stars. You know, in the sense of, I love The Room, but I give it half a star. It's half a star film. It's shit.
Yeah.
But that's why it's so good. And that's where it gets a little complicated.
Yeah.
I put this in that category.
Usually it's easy though, because you could just give it a half star with a love heart. But I didn't feel like doing that with this, because there are some things in here, like the practical effects are fucking great.
It's,
like,
yeah, it's not complete bottom of the barrel.
Yeah, it's so weird. And the fact that he didn't choose the atmosphere does somewhat make it a little... it kind of destroys my argument a little, but...
I could see why he wouldn't be necessarily proud of it, because I don't think he got much work off the back of it.
No.
Let's be honest.
Well, it's co-written by Ian Cassie, who was the third assistant director for Xtro. Michael Parry.
Is that it?
Yeah.
Oh.
Michael Parry, who also wrote Erotica, Cry of the Banshee, The Uncanny, Monsters, The Zip, and Hex. Not the good Hex, as far as I know. Not the Shaw Brothers Hex.
Was it not the TV series?
Potentially. And Robert Smith. Not that Robert Smith. He also wrote Spy Ship, Play for Today, the Young Shoulders After Darkness episodes. Screen 2, The Man from the Prue episode.
Okay.
And episodes of Taggart, A Touch of Frost, and more.
Yeah, so it's British. It's very British.
Oh, hang on. Play for Today, Young Shoulders. After Darkness is a separate thing. But yeah,
okay.
The Young Shoulders episode of Play for Today.
Yeah. So it's very British.
So
very British film.
Which I found jarring. I wrote all this. I typed up all these notes before watching the film. And yeah, it was still jarring how British this film was.
Yeah, I didn't realise it would be so British. I didn't realise that it would be as wacky as it was.
Yeah.
Because I'd seen, it on Blu-ray, seen the DVD, all this, that, and the other, and I was like, I thought it was an E.T. rip-off, if I'm being perfectly honest. And that's what I was expecting. I wasn't expecting it to be so out there, so wild, really.
I can't say how much it was made for, how much it made. I'm going to guess not much on both accounts. The tagline, I don't usually mention taglines, but this is pretty great. It's some extraterrestrials are not friendly.
Yes.
But that's not all. No. There's another tagline as well, which is, when Tony grows up, he's going to be just like Daddy.
Oh, guys.
Even though the plot involves extraterrestrials, the creatures in this film are at no point referred to as aliens. Some fans like thinking of them as Lovecraftian type beings. It's also never said that they come from another planet. So it's possible they come from another dimension. No one fucking knows.
Oh, no.
Because it was never established.
No. And I have a history on this podcast of maybe looking too into things and potentially trying to find reason, or I bring up discrepancies and such and things that don't quite make sense. I'm going to really try to refrain from doing that.
You don't have to in this episode. Like there's no meaning behind any of this.
I'm trying not to question too much. But there are certain things that raise questions in my mind.
If you come up with any themes for this film, then you've already done a better job than the writers.
I think I may have one.
Okay. Also, this was often incorrectly listed as a video nasty. It was never actually listed amongst the original 72 titles.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, people assumed it was.
It was.
Probably should have been.
Yeah, well, there's certain parts.
If, when you compare something like this to something like The Witch Who Came From the Sea, this probably should have been video nasty.
Yeah. Also, I just wanted to add, executive producer Robert Shea.
Yes.
Bob Shea.
Yeah.
Now, it's a New Line Cinema film.
Mm-hmm.
And when Gary mentioned that we didn't know a budget or a gross, I do question how it got 2 sequels.
That is a good point.
I do question that, because when they say that A Nightmare on Elm Street saved New Line Cinema,
yeah,
this is the kind of shit they were referring to. So this was a year, 2 years before A Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yeah.
So this is the kind of film that New Line Cinema were releasing and going bankrupt because of.
Yeah.
Yet it got 2 sequels, so I don't know if it did well or not.
Yeah, I mean, if we look at a list of New Line Cinema films, so it started in the 60s. It went through the 70s, obviously you had Multiple Maniacs, Pink Flamingos, Reefer Madness.
Yeah, so it was more of a distribution.
Yeah, they took on Texas Chainsaw Massacre for its US release, Sister Street Fighter, Desperate Living, Night of the Living Dead re-release, which obviously is public domain anyway. But they released a lot of the Evil Dead. They released a lot of weird shit.
Yeah, they were definitely a genre company,
which is so
films.
For me, it's so weird that they were such a weird company releasing all these weird films that no other studio really would at that time. But then again, I suppose the 70s and 80s studios probably were releasing stuff just as weird. But as far as I know, some of this is really out there.
Yeah.
But then a film that's quite weird in itself managed to save them and turn them into this big mainstream company.
Yeah, it's true. Because I mean, Nightmare on Elm Street is
it's a weird film. Yeah,
it is a weird one. I mean, it maybe shouldn't have worked, but it did.
Yeah,
because of who was involved, really.
Yeah.
Ronnie Blakely.
Absolutely.
Ronnie Blakely should have been in this, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, this should have been the film that saved New Line, really. God. But yeah, let's talk about who's
actually in it. Yeah. In a section we like to call "Hey, I Know You."
Philip Sayer plays Sam Phillips. He was in The Hunger, Blue Bow, Slayground, the Fearless Frank episode of Play of the Week, where he played Oscar Wilde.
Ooh.
Shanghai Surprise. Yes, that Shanghai Surprise.
Ah, of course.
Arthur the King and more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I felt like I knew his face.
Yeah. I feel like I knew him from The Hunger. I don't remember who he was in Shanghai Surprise.
No, probably a small role in Shanghai Surprise. Slayground is a film that I really want to watch.
Mm-hmm.
Also in Sebastian as well. The Derek Jarman film.
Okay.
Which probably explains why he wasn't afraid of getting his
bits out,
getting his ass out.
I hear if you pause it at the right time, you can see his penis.
Ooh.
Bernice Steggers plays Rachel Phillips. I say plays loosely. The thing is, I can't even say. I mean, I can say the acting is bad in this film because I mean it is bad, but it's also dangerously close to EastEnders acting. This film is like the weirdest episode of EastEnders you'll ever see. Like the dialogue, the line delivery, it's so EastEnders.
It's soap opera. It really
it is British TV.
But I feel like Bernice Steggers, she kind of plays into it.
Yeah.
In a weird way.
Yeah.
I wouldn't maybe have expected. One thing I have to say is that all the actors, despite, being good or bad, I mean, sometimes they're just as good as the quality of what they're given.
Yeah.
You can't polish a turd. But they all do kind of seemingly take it quite seriously.
They do.
There's no sort of sometimes when you watch a film and you can tell that the actor's not into it and just like, what is this shit I'm having to talk, or this dialogue. But they all kind of are on board with it. So I don't know if the drugs were passed around.
Oh, they must have been.
But everyone kind of commits.
Philip Sayer definitely would have had some drugs.
Maybe.
To convince him to get into some of the scenes he's in.
Maybe.
Yeah, she's from Four Weddings and a Funeral, Sweet Francois, the Guernsey Literary and Potato Peel Pie Society.
Yeah.
Disobedience, Sky Bandits, and more.
Yeah, so she was in Lamberto Bava's Macabre,
Mm-hmm.
and I really felt like she had that look of someone who did a lot of Italian films, and I don't know why.
She was.
I would see her in a giallo, well, Macabre, really.
I mean, she was kind of giving me Julia from Hellraiser. I'm
She
not
was
gonna lie.
absolutely giving Julia from Hellraiser. She really was. She was also in Tipping the Velvet,
Okay.
TV series, and I think she had a fairly prominent role in Federico Fellini's City of Women just a few years previous. I think it was just a couple of years previous. So I think potentially she was the most seasoned going into the film. Potentially, I do think that.
Yeah. Danny Brainon as Joe Daniels. He was in Praise of Older Women, Yentl,
Oh.
Water, John and Yoko, A Love Story, Street Smart, The Rendezvous, and more. Yeah.
In Praise of Older Women
Mm-hmm.
is the story that turned on millions of Playboy magazine readers in the October issue. What the hell's that? You seen the poster for it?
No.
Saucy.
It is.
Very saucy.
It kind of looks like it should be stuck on a phone box in London.
It really does. Do you know who else is in that?
Who?
Karen Black.
Oh.
Oh wow, I need to see that film. Oh
wow. Miriam Diabo is in this as Annalise Mercier. My favourite performance of the film, and I'm not just saying that because I met her when I was a child.
Yeah, you know her personally.
Yeah, I met her at a Comic-Con. Yeah, got a little booklet signed for the Living Daylights.
If only you knew.
I know,
you could have gone Xtro.
She was star of Xtro.
Yes.
She was absolutely lovely to speak to, by the way. Just put it out there. Yeah, she's from Living Daylights, Dorian Gray, Helen of Troy, The Prince and Me 2, The Royal Wedding, God. Solitaire for Two, Red Shoe Diaries,
Ooh.
Immortal Sins, Murder, She Wrote, and more. Her performance in this film, I really felt like they gave her a different script. She is on another level to everyone else.
She's got the volume turned up.
She is camp as tits.
She is.
I was here for every second of it. Simon Nash plays Tony Phillips. He was in Birds of a Feather, The Bill, Tugs, Brazil, Slinger's Day, Nanny, Breakout, and more.
Birds of a Feather. Wow.
So he would have been... Was he one of their sons?
Oh, he was probably in a random episode. Oh, he might have been. Who do you... Oh, I don't know. I don't know. For anyone in America, you have no idea who Birds of a Feather is.
No.
It's a British, very, very, very British sitcom.
Bonus Hey I Know You is Anna Wing, who went on to play Lou Beale in EastEnders.
Yes. Yeah, so Pauline Fowler's mother in EastEnders. Ian Beale's grandma. What a legend.
She fully shows her range in this film. And by that, I mean her range of how many different accents she can do in a short amount of time. And I mean, like, she does about 4 accents overall throughout this entire film. And she doesn't have that much screen time. Let's try and get into this.
Well, she, actually, sorry, just to go back, she may have been the most seasoned, actually.
Really?
She was in Billy Liar, Blood on Satan's Claw, The Naked Civil Servant, A Doll's House, Up the Junction. Yeah, so Anna Karenina, maybe in tiny roles, but yeah, maybe she was the most seasoned.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't show, but
again, that range. Let's talk about our future presentation.
Tony's father has been away a long time. Now, he's coming home.
Why did you come back?
I came back for you.
Xtro, bearing black magic from outer space. His mission, to avenge, to possess, to destroy. Xtro. Some extraterrestrials aren't friendly. From New Line Cinema, rated R.
As Sam Phillips and his son Tony are playing outside their farm, Sam?
Yeah.
Okay, no. Let's talk about our feature presentation in a bizarre series of events, starting now, for the entire fucking film. There's nothing in this film that isn't a bizarre series of events. I'd be saying it the whole time. They're playing catch outside for their dog, Katie. Sam throws a stick up into the air and it turns into a bright light. It's suddenly night time. They start doing some dramatic spins. And Sam's abducted.
Sam's abducted.
Apparently Katie the dog is as well. We never see Katie again.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's a jump in
3 years.
3 years. So I'm assuming, God bless her, Katie died within those 3 years.
I don't know.
Maybe because she went onto the roof and fell off. Because I cannot think as to any reason why Sam would throw that fucking stick so high. The fuck's he throwing that stick into the air for? Kate's like, what the fuck you doing, mate? You got Katie. Katie lobs this fucking stick like a mile into the fucking air.
Just jumped off the planet.
And she's like, the fuck am I meant to do with that? Can I fly? No. Are you taking the piss? The fuck you throwing the stick in the air for?
This scene, you really get a great glimpse of what the acting's going to be like when they're doing their little dramatic spins and trying to reach out for each other.
Yeah, with all due respect to Philip Sayer, there's a strong wind on the go, a very strong wind. And I don't know what crap is blowing this wind. Bits of twigs and leaves. But the poor bastard has half of it stuck in his fucking teeth. And he's trying to act. It's all flying in his face. So I don't necessarily blame him for maybe a hammy performance just to get the fucking thing over and done with. Like, you know, he looked like he had fucking spinach in his teeth, for fuck's sake.
The kid has the strongest Cockney accent I've ever heard in my life. And I kind of want to feel... I kind of want to feel... With the Italian cinema sensibility that I'm used to, with kids and weird voices, I kind of want to believe he's dubbed, but I don't think he is.
No,
I think that's actually his voice.
Yeah, well, no, actually, did you not see in the trivia? They just took snippets from Bedknobs and Broomsticks.
Well, yeah,
the kid from that and just inserted.
Yeah, it could well have.
So he sounds like the kid from Bedknobs and Broomsticks. And the chokehold that haircut had on kids in the early 80s, that Luke Skywalker helmet hair, the chokehold.
Damien from The Omen. This is fully carried over from the 70s. There's so
Danny
many
from
like
The
that.
Shining. All had that helmet haircut.
Yeah, no, kids in the 70s and 80s just didn't have haircuts. Apparently.
No, but well, I mean, I suppose you'd have to have some sort of cut to make it look like that, which confuses me. But you know, I mean, I can't really judge. I haven't had the best haircuts in my life.
Oh, you definitely had this. You had this haircut in uni.
I did not.
3 years later, Tony has a dream about the incident. And also, the fact that his name's Tony as well is even funnier.
So confusing.
I always... Like, the dad is called Sam, and
my
the kid is called Tony.
It absolutely should have been the kid was called Sam, and the dad called... Tony is an old man name. Tony is the name that you associate with dads. Like... guys in their fit, and I understand they have to be a kid at some time.
Yeah, and I know my name's Gary, but
yeah, but I feel like
there's a reason we haven't had a Gary in a long time.
It's a bit like Karen. I can't imagine a
baby
baby called Karen. I can't imagine it. They just come out the womb as adults. Which Sam does later in the film.
There we go.
They got their names the wrong way round.
Tony has a dream about the incident, and his mum, Rachel, she thinks that Sam just walked out on them.
Yeah.
Rachel's new boyfriend, Joe Daniels, who is Canadian American, is
Canadian American.
That is how it's described.
Canadian American. Like,
His mum's Canadian, his dad's American, okay?
He's got an accent, but you can't quite pinpoint. You know how Canadians get insulted when you say they're American?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that's someone's just trying to edge their bets.
Maybe.
So like, oh, it's one or the other.
Well, he's sad that Tony's still obsessed with his dad and doesn't like him yet. I mean, yeah, his dad did kind of get abducted in front of him. Okay.
Yeah, but no one's believing this story.
No.
Because it's not the abduction they don't believe. It's why would he throw that stick so high in the air? Surely. It can't be right.
Spoiler alert, apart from Joe Daniels, it's not long before people are believing Tony. And I swear, some of the shit that happens in this film, some of the weirdest stuff that's ever happened in any podcast film, and people do not question it. It's like it's a minor inconvenience. It's so fucking weird.
And the thing is, they never actually tell Tony that they now believe him.
No.
So he goes through the whole thing, but seemingly it doesn't affect him too much. No. But he goes through the whole thing, being told that he's just making shit up.
Mm-hmm.
And then when it gets to the point where like, maybe, it's not really developed. This kid just like... I'm surprised at the end, spoiler alert, he doesn't say, "Do you believe me now, bitch?" Do you believe 3 years?
I'd love to have heard that in the Cockney accent.
Yeah, I know.
Well, the light...
I can't do accents, you know this.
The light returns, and this time it plants a seed. A half-human, half-alien creature develops from the seed and is then hit by a car. And then goes on to murder the couple who were in the car.
Yes.
Okay, the practical effects in this, I genuinely think they look so good and borderline creepy because, I mean, it's kind of a what the fuck am I looking at moment.
Yeah, and I think that works. I do think that works because from what I was gathering from the poster, from the tagline, is that we were going to get like an E.T. ripoff. And the extraterrestrial going to be a horror version of E.T. And that's not necessarily the truth. What I think we get is some kind of... It kind of looks a bit like Alien, almost a xenomorph, but then also kind of like the monster from Basket Case.
Yeah.
It's somewhere in between. But in its first sort of incarnation, that's the word, incarnation, when it gets hit by the car, it looks like a skinned dog, but in the shape of a coffee table.
But it walks, the way it walks, it's on all fours, but with its head the wrong way around. Yeah. Like, it's so strange.
But it's very sort of rectangular as well. Yeah. So it does look like I said, like a coffee table.
Yeah. If I'd seen this when I was a kid, it would have fucking traumatized me.
I think
absolutely.
So, yeah.
But yeah, the couple are killed, which is a shame for the guy in the couple because he had a fierce mullet going on.
He did. Well, he gets licked to death.
Yeah.
Well, he gets one lick. And apparently that makes blood come out of his both eyes, and I'm not really sure what happened there. And the wife or the girlfriend, she gets killed off screen after getting her foot caught in the steering wheel. Very sophisticated couple.
Yeah.
Did you hear what they were listening to on the radio?
What were they listening to?
It was a very posh man introducing some classical music. Next up is Brahms.
But the boy too.
Oh, what a sophisticated... No. What a sophisticated couple.
Tony goes to his mum's bedroom, where it takes her and Joe Daniels far too long to stop having sex once he's in the room.
We are under the sheets, though.
But, still, he's in the room, and it takes him, like, at least 10 seconds, which is far too long before they stop.
This might be a little TMI. But what I don't understand in films is when people are getting it on and they're completely under the covers. Like, ew. Like, what a sweatbox.
What's wrong with that?
Oh, it's going to stink. Do you not realise, like, the only time
it's weird that their heads are under the covers.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
That is
completely
strange.
Under the covers. That's what I mean.
Yeah.
What's it called when someone farts under the covers? What's your agenda?
Is there a name for that?
Yeah, there is. Yeah, I can't remember. If you know, DM me.
Please don't. So she doesn't ask him what's wrong. She's just like, oh, it's a bad dream, and takes him back to bed.
Oh, FYI, if this was an Italian film, number one, he would have been dubbed by a 50-year-old woman, and number two, he would have killed Joe and then gone on a killing spree 15 years later.
It's true. The creature goes to a cottage nearby where it attacks and impregnates the young woman living there before dissolving. Now...
You said that so casually, before dissolving.
This scene...
Don't.
It's not what it sounds like. It's not a sexual assault scene.
No.
Technically.
No.
Instead, and I'm glad they didn't go with that, because, you know, you've heard the rants we've had on the podcast before. But instead, it has a long thing come out of the area where its penis probably should be. But it's like a hand. It's like the creature on the Black Lagoon's hand, and a really mini version of it. And then it just goes on her mouth and starts sucking at it.
Yeah, it's almost like an elephant's trunk. Or, you know, and this might be very British reference, Henry the Hoover.
Yeah.
It's a bit like that, but then the end is like the creature from the Black Lagoon's webbed hand. The effects are alright, actually. They are alright. I don't think we did it justice there. It's hard to describe what's going on.
Oh, it's absolutely disgusting in the best way.
I'm glad that they didn't go, you know, the sexual assault route with that. Obviously, it's uncomfortable. Yeah. You know, but they didn't. So many films have done that. Yeah. And it is uncomfortable and it's gratuitous. It's just a bit weird, isn't it?
It's very weird.
But also, it's definitely the moment I realised that Bob Shea said, dude, I need Alien, but I need it cheap. What can you do, fellas? And they were like, well, you got any Coke? And he was like, yeah, here's a bag. Yeah. Obviously... For any legal representation of New Line Cinema listening to this, there is no evidence to suggest this is clearly just me talking shit. Well, don't sue me, please.
It is all over the internet that this film is a product of drugs, so yeah, it's fact. Rachel takes Tony back to bed, and he's randomly covered in blood.
He is, yeah.
I thought this was going to be a dream sequence. Yeah. Like, it has that sort of feel to a dream sequence. Like, oh my god, what's going on? This is so weird. Why would he randomly be covered in blood? No, this happened.
No, it really does happen. And do you know why it should have been a dream sequence? Why? Because nobody deals with it properly. No. He wakes up covered in blood. And
no, he doesn't even wake up covered in blood. She takes him back to bed, she puts him under the covers, and the next minute he's covered in blood.
No, he wakes up.
No, he doesn't go back to sleep.
Oh.
She literally puts him in bed, and the next minute he's covered in blood.
So really, she should investigate this further. Because it makes no sense.
No.
They call the doctor, and... Well, the doctor's sort of... Well, it's not his blood. And for some reason, he knows it's not Sam's blood either. It's not his dad's blood. Even though he's saying it was his dad's blood. And Rachel's like, oh, that's a weird one. Do you think it's just a really, you know, kind of bad prank?
He's covered in blood. And like, yeah, and he's like, Daddy sent it. And the doctor's like, oh, and how did he send it? He's like, I don't know. Just thought something sticky. Excuse me?
So
the doctor's like, I just recommend you get some sleep.
I recommend you get some sleep.
And then the fucking Rachel's like, thanks, doctor. Is that all? Is that all?
Is that all? Like, there's this blood that came out of nowhere. This is what I mean.
Like, no one reacts to these things.
But like, it's a bad prank. Like, well, what's he done? You know, has he gone to the fridge and like squeezed a steak. Like, what? This needs explaining. As a mother, you need to explain this. You need to get to the bottom of how all this blood got in the bed.
It just gets even weirder. Like, the doctor suggests that Tony gets some professional help because the blood he was covered in wasn't his own. Joe suggests Tony is going mad because of what he said about how his father went missing. And out of nowhere, our French living nanny, Annalise Mercier, comes strutting out of her room and is like, listen to me, Tony simply needs his father. He doesn't need hundreds and thousands of psychiatrics. He just needs some care. It is one of the campest things I've ever seen in my life.
It is. But also, I mean, she's the au pair. His mum's right there. Joe is trying his best to be a father figure to Tony. And seemingly Joe's a perfectly fine fella, you know. And she says all he needs is his dad. I mean, what a slap in the face.
Oh, she stirs the pot so much.
To herself as well.
She is the Kyle Richards of Xtro. She must have a producer credit because she really stirs that pot.
She's like, no, let's talk about the husband. Let's talk about what you don't want out.
Exactly. And then after, Rachel's like, come on, he's just trying his best. And then she's like, yes, stupid doctor. All he could think of is another doctor.
Yeah. Which I don't really... Well, I do get in the essence that he's like, well, it's not my fault. It's his brain. Send him to the psychiatrist.
Well,
this unexplained blood. I really don't. It's never brought up again, by the way.
No.
And I will say this many times in this podcast. It's never brought up again. And this blood just goes totally unexplained.
It does. Yeah. Someone who probably
should...
It's
a gift from his dad. Like, why would his dad send that? Like, what does it even mean?
Someone who probably should get a doctor is the woman in the cottage. She wakes up.
She definitely needs a doctor. What she does though is get herself a glass of water.
Her belly.
The first thing she does is go. And I understand, you know, she probably is a little parched. She's had Henry Hoot the Hoover on her face. She's probably very parched. But it's the first thing she does, and she's fanning around at the sink. And she's got some sort of nozzle on her tap as well. She's taking that off. And it's like, oh my god, call the police, call an ambulance. What is happening here?
Yeah, her belly rapidly grows
It does.
to a fucking huge size. And then she gives birth to a fully formed adult Sam, which kills her.
Yeah.
Now,
and
there's 2 films that have done this since this was released. Maybe more, I don't know. I didn't realise Xtro would be such a big influence on films. There's the ABCs of Death 2, which has a really disturbing segment where this woman's husband goes off to war and she agrees to not give birth until he gets back. And, I mean, it takes it very literally. He never comes back and an adult grows inside her. And then obviously there's last year's Men. Now, the tone in this film, every now and then, isn't too different to Men.
Mm.
I kind of feel like Men may have stole something here.
Well...
Now, the ABCs of Death, that's actually more likely because it's made by directors who love the horror genre, very specific genre directors. But I do think Men may have taken something from this.
Potentially, or maybe it's something that's happened in literature or mythology. Do you know what I mean?
If it did, do you think the makers of this film would have researched that?
Yeah, no, I think
absolutely
so.
fucking
no.
Come on,
no, hun. No. This is what you get in a lot of British cinema. Is very seasoned people. They've done wonderful things on the West End stage, and they're very educated, and they end up in these things. I mean, look at Caligula.
Well,
you know, if you can have Helen Mirren, Sir John Gielgud, and, well, Michael McDowell, I'm not sure he could do any film. But you have seasoned, real actors and stage actors and actresses in something like Caligula. I don't think it's too weird that because they're the things that don't make money, and then they go and they do the trash that and try and make some money.
Well, from a quick Google,
Yeah,
it doesn't seem to be a thing.
no. So do you think this is the first film to ever have a woman give birth to an adult?
Yeah.
Is there not a list on Letterboxd?
This does. I don't think there's a list on Letterboxd.
Well, either way, it's not fully graphic, but it's pretty graphic.
It's very graphic.
It's not as graphic as, like, I haven't seen ABC's of Death. But Men's pretty graphic in that sense.
Yeah, no, ABC's of Death genuinely made me feel physically sick.
Ooh.
That scene, like, it is one of the most disgusting things I've ever seen. This is pretty gross itself.
It's not completely, I don't know how to word this. It's not completely dead on in the camera angle.
No,
but it's at a slight angle, so we don't see everything going on.
Yeah, it was men giving birth to fully formed adults, and they very much went with realism and high detail.
Yeah,
with how it would look. But this is just absolute silly nonsense,
it's so
and
weird.
It's something.
Then he chews off his umbilical cord.
He does.
Completely covered in blood.
Yeah.
Then he goes over to the sink to wash himself off with this random attachment that he's now put back on the tap.
Yeah.
And it just sounds like having a mini shower in someone's kitchen. Oh, fucking hell.
Yeah, the couple from earlier, he steals the driver's clothes and leaves in their car with the dead girlfriend in the car.
Yeah, she's still there for some reason.
He tries to call Rachel but can't get his words out and the phone mounts.
He calls up Rachel from a phone booth. He talks like he's just chained 50 cigarettes in a row. Can't get his words out. And then the handset melts in his hand. Why? Because, spoiler alert, he doesn't melt anything ever again in the film.
No. Well, he does. He mounts another phone later on.
Does he?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Tony is being...
That's alright. That one, they actually complete that.
Tony's being obnoxious at the breakfast table with his snake Harry and a toy soldier. He's still going to school next day, despite being covered in blood the night before. Annalise is taken into school, and we're introduced to Mrs. Goodman, who is like, "Hello, and how's my little Tony? Can eat you up. Work hard at your lessons, young man." I shit you not.
Yeah.
I swear she goes from French to Italian to British within less than a minute.
A little bit German thrown in as well.
That's later on when she goes German.
No. She's a little German there as well.
So she is high camp,
she's
pink glasses.
You know, the Blitz did her in, I think.
I think so.
And every accent involved in World War II, she's gone for.
There are moments where her mouth doesn't move and her words are coming out. It's so obviously dubbed.
But this is Lou Beale.
It is Lou Beale.
I feel like I need to say that because I only refer to her as Lou Beale in my notes.
Now, I mean, I thought she was going to be French throughout the entire film, and that's why they got someone to dub her. But no. She has many different accents, and she's high camp. She's got pink glasses.
She is, yes.
She's nosy neighbour.
Well, she is, because she's very sort of touchy-feely with Tony.
Yeah.
She's like, "Oh, Tony, my favourite. Oh, have a lovely day at school." And then afterwards, she's a nosy cow, and she's actually horrible. And spoiler alert, she kills the snake.
She does.
And she's horrible about it. So where has this energy gone? Why? Who is this character?
She's two-faced.
She's two-faced. She's fucking 200 accented. That's a phrase. Unlikely. It's high camp and highly strange.
Yeah.
Because the actress herself, she certainly wasn't dubbed in EastEnders. And she had a Cockney accent.
Yeah.
So why didn't she just have a Cockney accent? She could do it.
Uh-huh.
She did it, 3 years later?
Yeah.
Still good.
Well, Sam seeks out Tony, and they now live in an apartment building, by the way, in London. They've moved out the farm. They're living in an apartment building.
This is This confused me because I didn't realize that they owned together the farm and the apartment.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
And she can still keep the apartment and the farm.
Yeah.
Seemingly they live on a farm.
It's
no
strange.
one's looking after the farm.
Yeah. It kind of makes no sense though, because I'm pretty sure a little later on, Joe claims that he owns the apartment.
Yes. Yes, which is confusing. But then Lou Beale also, and we're just going ahead a little bit, but I feel like we need to finish this point. Lou Beale also says, "Oh, Sam's back." Oh. And that's when he says it's my apartment.
Yeah.
So if they didn't live, and they lived in the apartment together, so she knows who he is.
Uh-huh.
Who's looking after the farm? Number 2, how long after her husband left did Rachel meet Joe? Like, she's got the upkeep of a farm, apparently,
Mm-hmm.
and the upkeep of this apartment in London. Her husband's left her. She got a kid.
Mm-hmm.
So financially, how is she I mean, props to you.
Yeah.
If she was the breadwinner in that relationship, and she could carry on with the same lifestyle after her husband left, I mean, in 1982,
Mm-hmm.
props to you, Rachel.
Yeah.
Good on ya. I might have to change one of my choices if that's the case.
A random guy in a car park drives into Sam's car and finds a corpse of the woman from the dead couple. Whilst back at home, some guy is eating out Annalise. We found out it's her boyfriend Michael, and he tries to shove a milk bottle up her ass when she gets a call from Rachel.
Yes, so this is the gratuitous nudity of the... I can't even get my words out. I'm so shocked. Gratuitous nudity of the film. Because I'll tell you something completely pointless.
Yeah.
The boyfriend character, completely pointless.
He actually looks a lot like Joe. I thought they were
I
an
was
affair.
confused. I was like, oh my god. Because I'm assuming they've never met.
Who?
Oh my god.
They live together.
Annalise.
Annalise and Joe, they live together.
No. Oh, I thought it was Sam.
You thought it was Sam?
I thought Sam was
I thought it was...
infiltrated the apartment.
No.
Yeah. Oh, it's very...
I thought he looks a lot like Joe.
Men at that time looked very similar. They had very similar haircuts, I think, was the issue.
Joe is doing a photo shoot with a model called Paula, who keeps drooling, apparently.
Oh my god, Paula is a queen.
She is. She's like, cheese! Bloody cheese!
She's a model. I don't know what she's trying to... I think it's like a beer advertisement or something.
Yeah.
Because there's a pint of beer underneath her leg. She's finishing off her lunch.
She is.
She's not allowed to finish it off. She's having a burger and a full fat Coke because, apparently models in film can eat whatever they like. And I have one cream egg and I look like the pregnant woman giving birth to a human man in... No, I'm joking.
Oh my god.
I'm bitter.
But yeah, she's having a little photo shoot, and it looks like something from a Giallo film. I'm I'm surprised this wasn't Italian.
I mean,
with all the weird dubbing and then stuff like this thrown in.
Yeah, technically it had an Italian director, but Blow Up.
Yeah,
it's given Blow Up.
Yeah, Sam picks Tony up from school and is found by Rachel after a short, half-assed yet slightly camp chase.
Oh my god! One of the highlights of this film is Rachel running. Whenever she runs, I don't know what she's wearing. It's like a dress, but it's like square.
Yeah.
And it's got like 3 different quarter colours to it. And she's in big chunky red heels. And she's running. Wherever she's running to, she's got no idea.
No.
She's got absolutely no fucking clue. I don't know where she's running. I'm not being funny, you know, if you don't know where you're going, there's no point running around. You ask around.
Yeah.
You know? But she's just running in circles, giving high camp. I'm there for it.
Yeah, this scene is the most EastEnders scene I've ever seen in any film. So Sam slowly steps out the shadows, like, "Hello, darling." She's like, "Sam? Oh," he's like, "Yeah, I'm back. I'm back now. I'm back for good, darling."
Oh my god, it's Dirty Dan. Do you remember when Dirty Dan came back from the dead?
"Hello, princess." She slaps him in an extremely EastEnders slap.
Deserved.
And he's like, "I don't remember anything, but I want to come back, love. I want to come back. I want to live with you." It's like, "Oh, Sam, yeah, of course you can." He then goes to live with the family. Like, he moves in immediately, and tells Rachel the last thing he remembers is Tony screaming at the cottage. Joe comes home and is greeted by Mrs. Goodman being nosy, asking if he owns the flat. And this is when she goes.
Sam's back.
This is when she goes from the most Cockney to the most German within less than a minute.
Yeah.
Sam and Joe Sam and Joe have an awkward conversation together, and Joe tells Rachel that Sam needs to go because he doesn't trust him.
Do you know the thing I don't understand? What's the first thing that Rachel tells Sam to do?
What?
Have a shave.
Have a shave. Yeah, no, he's hardly got any facial hair at all.
But this is the first thing. Your husband has gone missing for 3 years. Let's put a little bit of context here. Your husband's gone missing for 3 years. Left you in the shit. Yeah?
Yeah.
Your son, for those 3 years, has... also, was the son played by the same actor in the beginning scene?
Yeah.
So how old would he have been?
And then he hasn't aged a single day.
He hasn't aged a single day. But obviously, like, when you're that young, 3 years is a long time in terms of aging. So I wonder how old he was at the beginning for him to even remember any or whatever. This is what I'm doing. I promised I wouldn't do it, and I'm doing it. Okay. So your son has been telling you for 3 years that your husband was seemingly abducted by aliens.
Yeah.
Or something happened with a bright light or whatever. And then he comes back into your life after 3 years. You thought he was dead. You thought he'd gone, somewhere. He'd committed a crime. You don't have no idea what's happened to him. First thing you do is give him a slap.
Yeah.
I understand that. The second thing you do is not tell him to have a fucking shave. You clean yourself up. You look perfectly fine. You got all the fucking placenta off it.
But he doesn't even have any facial hair. It's hardly any of a slight bit of stubble.
No.
I feel like they wrote that in the script before they knew what he'd look like on that day.
Yeah. Yeah, you're like, well, we can't wait for your beard to grow. And we ain't got a fake one, so no one will notice. 2 queers in 40 years' time won't be discussing it on a podcast. I think we can get away with it.
After Tony sees Sam eating Harry the Snake's eggs, yes, he does.
Yeah.
He runs out of the building.
Number one, I don't think... Well, I hate to assume any snake's gender, but I don't think that snake's a Harry if it's laying eggs.
Well, Tony runs out of the building. Sam slowly walks after him. Harry the Snake goes on his own adventure. He just escapes.
Mm-hmm.
Rachel and Joe realise Tony's missing, so they go for another camp run to find him. She's running again.
Love it.
Sam finds Tony and explains that he was taken away and changed whilst he went missing. He then comforts Tony and starts sucking blood out of his neck.
Yeah, pretty much. In a bizarre series of events.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tony's eyes are going to the back of his head. He's not questioning this at all.
No. Why? I don't understand why Tony decided to run, like, in the back streets. And so, like, where's he running to? Like, his mum's home.
Yeah.
Like, and why would he never tell it? Well, I suppose by the time he would have a chance to tell his mum, his dad's already sucked his blood. Which is a strange sentence. But then, like, not sucked his blood, because what happens is it's like a big blister, isn't it?
Yeah.
So it's almost like he's blowing a bubblegum bubble.
Yeah.
On his neck.
Mm-hmm.
Which, spoiler alert, Tony does, kind of, to Annalise later. Doesn't he?
Yeah.
To a certain degree. It's a strange one. I'm trying not to think too much into it.
You sure?
Yeah. Let it be what it is. This happens. I don't need to explain. It's so painful. I need to find meaning in this. Okay. It's alright.
Are you sure? Are
Yeah.
you sure you're okay?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
Okay. So, yeah. Rachel and Joe return home to find Sam and Tony there together. Mrs. Goodman watches the news in her glamorous apartment whilst having a snack.
She's got a lovely... I mean, it's a nice apartment.
It doesn't look like it's in the same building.
I mean, no. To a certain degree. Their apartment is very big, seemingly.
Yeah.
So they must have been doing well. I mean, that's in London as well.
Uh-huh.
And they have a farm on the side. They must be doing really well. I don't know what she did for a living. I don't know what Sam did for a living, but they must be doing really well for themselves. They've got a fucking au pair, you know?
Well, speaking of, at the dinner table, she's going full Carl Richards now. She's stirring that pot, Annalise. And she's like, "Oh, Sam, you look younger than in your pictures. How long you staying for?" And Joe's like, "Oh, well, Rachel's divorcing Sam." And Rachel's, "No, I don't want to talk about it." And I shit you not, Annalise's like, "But why not now? Everyone's here!"
Yeah, why is she shouting? No
She
idea.
is screaming at them.
Why is she screaming?
Joe's like, "Well, we're getting married." And then Annalise's like, "Oh, great, I am so happy for you." Then Sam throws a bottle at Joe.
Yeah. He's like, "Oh, you're mad. You're crazy. You gotta make him stop." Yeah. Sam's like, "Don't you ever talk about my wife." Throws a bottle. What I don't understand is why Rachel wouldn't have divorced him earlier. I mean, he's gone missing. I don't know how many years is it? Well, you're technically divorced if he's gone missing.
3. Well, it's 3 that he's been missing.
Or he's declared dead.
Mm.
Like, what? Okay, stop.
Harry the Snake breaks into Mrs. Goodman's apartment and falls into a salad. So she murders it with a hammer and takes it back to Rachel in pieces.
I can't believe... number one, I can't believe in these lovely apartments there's some, like, hole in the fucking ceiling. And this is where the snake just said, "Oh, do you know what? I smell salad." He's going after the salad? No idea.
Tony now discovers he has paranormal powers.
He does?
Which I promise you, this is what happens. This is no word of a lie. He uses to bring a toy clown to life, which pisses off Mrs. Goodman, and she starts banging on the ceiling with a broom. So, because that really annoys Tony, he sends a human-sized toy soldier to slaughter Mrs. Goodman. And the scene goes like this. She tries to open the door with the chain on. He cuts the chain with a pair of huge pliers.
Yeah.
Blows the lock off the door and stabs her to death while she's hiding under a sofa. And that's not it. He only knows she's under the sofa because she's a bit peckish and she's trying to grab some chocolates.
Yeah.
She died because she could not wait a few more minutes to get a chocolate.
Like, literally, like a box of chocolates. Like, the lady deserves milk tray chocolates. And she just sneaks a hand out for a chocolate and then gets stabbed through the sofa. Okay, number one. How did she get under the sofa? Like, with all due respect,
It's very close to the ground.
It's very close to the ground. Like, I don't even feel like you would fit a child under that sofa. So I don't know what that's about. Number two, I don't feel like she would have been able to get into the sofa. No. Number three, he doesn't take the cushions off the sofa. So I don't feel like the stabbing from the bayonet would go far enough to kill her. And I don't get the chocolate scene. I think this scene, more than anything else, was written on some sort of drugs.
It has to have been.
More than anything
else. It's such a weird image to look at.
And then the toy soldier, what I assume a toy soldier would walk like, isn't how this toy soldier walks. It's more like a robot.
Yeah. Like,
why don't you just do a fucking robot? Toy soldiers, I assume, are like Toy Story, you know, when they're walking that way. Just before this scene as well, and it's something that stuck with me. There's a scene where Sam is in his underwear, and he sniffs some gas from the fireplace. And I don't know why it stuck with me, because it doesn't lead anywhere.
No.
And I have no idea why this scene was kept in the film. Because he just switches the gas on to the fireplace, goes right, he's in his underwear, his white Y-fronts, and just, which I'm a little confused by, because did he steal the guy's underwear? Like, where's this underwear come from? And he just gives it a real deep sniff.
Yeah.
And that's the end of the scene. And then we cut to Lou Beale being murdered.
Yeah.
Because she just, the lady can't resist a milk tray.
No, apparently not. Sam and Rachel visit the farm where they used to live.
Yes, they do. And the gas has been left on.
We'll get to that.
Yeah.
We'll get to that.
But whilst it's still fresh in my mind...
Yeah.
I'm just thinking...
Still doesn't lead to anything.
Anything.
It does not connect at all. It doesn't connect. It hasn't been back to the farm since
what is
he
it
was
with
born
this?
again.
Is there a certain type of alien that loves to sniff gas? Like, why gas?
Well, they leave Tony with Annalise. They make an absolute state of the kitchen.
They do, yeah.
Michael, her boyfriend, visits again. And they're about to get it on. But Tony interrupts for a game of hide and seek.
Yeah, so even more gratuitous nudity needed. Did you get the bit before that where Rachel finds a photo of the woman?
Yeah, so Rachel finds a photo
killed.
of the dead girl from the couple in his pocket.
Yeah, in a jacket and a big wad of money as well, which again isn't explained with the couple.
They're rich, weren't they? They're listening to opera.
Very sophisticated, listening to the classical.
Must have been made of money.
It has a note on the back.
Yeah.
Which said, "Oh, thanks for a great time, lots of love, whoever." Conveniently, isn't actually addressed to anyone.
No.
So she thinks Sam has been with this woman the whole time.
Yeah.
Which is funny.
Yeah. So
why would she not put the net does she just have a load written up for special occasions? She didn't need to address it to anyone.
Well,
it's like, here you go, mate. Thanks for a lovely time. Here's a photo of me.
You're assuming they thought about it.
I might start doing that.
During the game of hide and seek, Annalise is knocked out by the clown and used as a womb for the alien eggs. Tony sucks the eggs into her side. Yes, that's correct. Tony, the child, sucks the eggs into her side.
Yeah, and there's like blue veins coming from it. It goes on a while, lads. Wow.
It does go on for a while.
Quite uncomfortable. It's weird.
Sam and Rachel arrive at the farm, and Rachel's like, "Oh, it's good to be back here, isn't it? What? The place where your husband got fucking abducted?"
Yeah.
And yet they realise the gas has been left on.
Yeah.
And their first thought is, okay, let's go into the house that is full of gas.
But crack open the windows.
Crack open the windows.
Crack open the windows. Isn't it good to be back? Isn't this such fond memories, isn't it? Like, why didn't you sell the farm? Like this, we haven't been there a while.
She
so
also kept all of his
there.
clothes for 3 years as well.
Yeah, of course. I mean, spoiler alert, they end up shagging. So she's clearly not over him.
Well, no.
Poor Joe.
Tony sends a toy tank to attack Michael. But that doesn't kill him. No, a panther does.
Yeah, just randomly a panther.
A panther is just randomly in that flat and attacks him.
Before he's killed by a panther, why? Like, surely that's a lot of effort to go and get a panther for this scene.
It is a bit.
He finds Annalise in the bathroom, cramped up on the side of the bath, covered in some sort of webbing.
Yeah.
Poor actress. Like, why can't you just be in the fucking bath? She's like proper cramped up to the side.
Rachel tries calling Tony, but the clown rips the phone off the wall. So she calls the front desk at the apartment building to go check on them. And he says, "It'll be my pleasure, bitch."
Yeah, after he puts the phone down, calls her a bitch.
Well, what's she done wrong to him?
Well, I mean, that's also not explained. For some reason, he has a photo of Stalin behind him. I'm not sure what that's meant to mean. But also, one of the themes of the film, I feel like, xenophobia. Because as he's going to check on them, and then no one's answering, he gets into the elevator where the light fails. And he taps the bulb. It's like foreign bulbs.
Cheap foreign bulbs.
Cheap foreign bulbs.
And nothing works well in this fucking country.
Yeah. So I think there's a bit of xenophobia there. And I think in the context of the whole film, it makes no sense.
No, it doesn't.
None of it makes sense.
The clown, in the meantime, starts taking eggs from Annalise's body and placing them in the fridge.
In the fridge? Oh, yeah, it's the green goo, isn't it?
Yeah.
But they're like water balloons, aren't they, the eggs?
They are.
They are.
And they absolutely are water balloons, by the
Yeah.
way. So the guy from the front of the building gets out of the lift and gets his throat slit by Tony's spinning toy.
Yeah. Yeah, to the neck.
Tony is not standing for any sort of discrimination in this building.
No. Like, yeah, that's true.
Murders him. Rachel calls
But
Joe.
he's also technically murdered his French au pair, so that's a bit...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. Well, I mean, technically the clown did.
Technically the clown did, yeah.
Rachel...
The clown, it's not explained.
Yeah.
At all.
Rachel calls Joe to go check on Tony and Annalise, just as Joe realises that the photo of the girl found in Sam's pocket is the girl on the front of the newspaper who's been murdered. And I'm so proud of the filmmakers for managing to keep a storyline going.
Oh my god, it's actually something that
something
fits.
comes back.
It actually fits together. It's incredible.
That
must have been a sober day when that
it
was
must
written.
have, yeah. He tries calling back, but Sam mounts the phone line.
Oh, yeah.
Joe goes outside. Tony's waiting for him.
Yeah, for some reason. No clown.
No clown. And they go to the farm. Sam and Rachel...
No panther, either.
No. Sam and Rachel start getting it on, but his skin starts to bleed and decompose. Rachel really doesn't seem too bothered about this at all.
Well, she's kind of consistent. Are you all right, love?
Yeah, you're right.
You're all right. I'll get you some water. It's like green shit, like falling off of him.
Joe and Tony arrive at the farm where Sam takes his son up a hill towards the alien light. Sam is now taking the form of an alien. He's looking a bit like Jeff Goldblum in The Fly.
Yeah.
And he uses his super loud scream to kill Joe.
Let's make something very clear. That is not a scream. That is a disgruntled cat. That is not a scream.
Sam and Tony enter the light and return to the alien world, leaving Rachel behind. Arriving at home the next day, Rachel finds the panther and the fridge full of eggs. And as she picks one up, she's killed by a newborn creature.
And that's the end.
Is
Like, it's just
Xtro.
like that end. It ends.
Yeah. But that's not how it originally ended.
No.
The director originally intended the film to end with Rachel coming home to find the apartment filled with clones of Tony, having apparently come from the alien eggs, which the real Tony had left in the refrigerator. Well, I mean, the clown did. The clones then greet Rachel and rub her glowing belly, and they're like, "Yes, mother, yes." And Rachel is now pregnant with Sam's second child, and she smiles at the camera, and that's the end. Now, we've seen this ending. It is included on the Blu-ray release, readily available on YouTube, and this is a good for her ending.
Is it?
Yeah. Rewarding men in her life, apart from her annoying son who's multiplied. Well, but all of them are they're fucking worshipping her like a bunch of gays in a club, and she smiles, so it must be a good for her ending.
It makes more sense than the actual ending we get.
Well, Robert Shea says, not thinking that the scene's special effects were convincing enough, or the wigs, edited it out and released it for its New York debut with a film ending where Rachel sits down in the field after Sam and Tony have left. So there was nothing castle after that.
No.
Davenport, however, not wanting to have it end on such an abrupt note, created the new ending where she gets killed.
Yeah, I mean, the ending, it makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. There's so many questions left unanswered. You know, if they've fucked off back to wherever he was for those 3 years, like, number one, why did he have to get his son to go back with him? Like, what was the reason for that? You know, if they wanted him the first time, they would have just abducted him when they had the chance. I mean, he hasn't aged a day. Number two, why do they look like a bag of shit before going back onto the alien plane or whatever the fuck it was? Like, why? I swear Sam turns into a skeleton.
Yeah.
Number three, why is Annalise still in the bathroom shitting out eggs? What was the reason for that? I've got one word: hodgepodge. Bring it to the hodgepodge, because it's a real confusing mixture that doesn't fit or make any kind of sense. And I failed. I understand that I failed, but I've tried my damnedest not to try and make some sort of sense out of it all, because I knew that I wasn't going to get anywhere, because there's no point. I will tell you though, it's entertaining as hell.
Yeah.
Oh, it's fucking stupid. And praise, you know, under 90 minutes. As well, thank God.
Yeah.
You know, short, sweet, incoherent as fuck.
Yeah.
Stupid, ridiculous, entertaining, camp.
Yeah. I mean, spoiler alert for my, if you enjoy this, I've had to mash a few films together, because there's not a single film out there that is like this on its own. This is completely unique, and the product of what drugs can do to you.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, the fact that you genuinely put more thought into this than the director and the writers themselves, you know.
Maybe I need to start taking drugs.
But yeah, I was thoroughly entertained from start to finish. This is an absolute blast. You got to see it to believe it.
It is one of those films that you have to switch, and I understand, you know, and I say it a lot on the podcast, and I hold my hands up. Sometimes I struggle, but you just have to switch off and be like, it is what it is.
Yeah. And
I think this film, more than really any film we've discussed on the podcast, because you ain't getting anything.
No.
There's no, there is no purpose to anything. It just happens.
Yeah, we already know that it was, you know, there's no plot.
Like, the director, he hasn't come out and said, oh, it's a huge allegory for this.
No, he hasn't tried to defend it.
He hasn't tried to defend it. You know, he said, oh, it's a parody, or it's deliberately this. It's like, no, bitch, I took a load of drugs, and tried to make a film, and this is what happened.
No, I mean, fair play to him for sticking to that and not trying to be, oh, well, it was meant to be this.
Yeah. Oh, it's ironic.
Yeah. Should we get to the awards?
Let's get to the awards.
Biggest queen. I mean, it's got to be Annalise. Or do you have someone different?
Well, I have Annalise, and it's true, Annalise. But I mean, if Rachel is bringing in that dollar, and she's sustaining that household, well done.
Yeah,
You gotta give her props for that. But it is Annalise.
It's
in terms of what you see in the film.
She
it's
serves constantly. She gets herself some dick.
Oh, she does. Yeah.
She can't be asked to do her job, but then sometimes pretends that she cares too much about her job.
It is a weird kind of
stirs the pot.
She doesn't feel like an employee.
No, she keeps the drama
coming. It's more like
a
sister kind of character.
Yeah, she keeps that drama coming for us throughout.
She's a producer, and she talks about the husband.
She does. Biggest gasp. I mean, could be a number of things. I have Sam being reborn.
The moment he bit into his umbilical cord, I was like, yeah, okay, this is biggest gasp.
It has
Nothing can top that.
Yeah.
So weird.
Best dialogue, I have Paula the model with cheese, bloody cheese.
Mine's not a single bit of dialogue. It's anything Lou Beale said in that weird accent. just anything she said.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's camp. I've got a tie between all of Mrs. Goodman's screen time.
Yeah.
Every second of it. And Annalise coming straight out of her room to tell the doctor that Tony needs more love and care.
I just put anytime Rachel runs. That's camp.
And for ratings, I give it 8 German, Italian, French, Cockney nosy neighbours out of 10.
Wow, you went with entertainment, didn't you? I gave it 5 inconveniently high stick throws out of 10. I went somewhere down. I just went down the middle. I think the quality and the entertainment, I think it balanced itself out. So I just went straight down the middle. 5 out of 10.
Masterpiece, trash or basic. I rate it like a good film, but I've got to give it a trash-to-piece because, I mean, technically it's trashy.
Oh yeah.
And it fucking delivers.
Yeah, I agree. I went with trash-to-piece. Yes.
And it's available on Blu-ray, Prime, Shudder, and Video on Demand. And if you enjoyed this, I recommend a little bit of a marathon for you. Start off with Men, then watch Possession, then Alien, and then any episode of EastEnders, and then finish it off with another watch of Xtro. Treat yourself.
I kept it simple. If you enjoyed this, I recommend Inseminoid, the Norman J. Warren, Alien Impregnation, Stephanie Beacham classic.
Did you also get Possession from this? There are a number of scenes where it was like the camera work and then the whole creature thing, kind of
French woman shouting.
Yeah.
No, I did get a little bit of Possession, I suppose. I mean, Possession is a 10 out of 10 all-time classic masterpiece. So I wouldn't give this film that much credit, but yeah, I was getting similar vibes.
We all know that everybody who listens to this podcast has seen this film before us, but still, talk to us on social media. We're Horror Cult Trash over on Facebook and Instagram, and Horror Cult Trash on Twitter. I'm Deadite Gaz92 on Letterboxd, Gazmo205 on Instagram, and GazChris92 on Twitter.
I am Chris Barker823 on Instagram and Letterboxd. And if you can think of any themes present in this film, I would be happy to receive a DM telling me. Because I won't be able to sleep tonight, not being able to overanalyze this.
And if you like your horror as weird as this, we can't really offer you anything like that at Gasp Horror Festival, but still coming to the festival.
No.
Yes.
If you want some quality, and not so bad, it's entertaining, join us at Gasp.
Yes. We are Gasp Horror Fest across all social media. Give us a rate, review, subscribe on iTunes, like a follow on everything else. Next week is double episode week again, where we are bringing you The Demolitionist.
Yes.
On Tuesday.
So excited.
And on Friday, we will be bringing you episode 250, where we will be discussing the crazies for original versus remake.
Ooh, 250. Flying by. Feels like yesterday. I haven't aged a second.
Just like Tony.
Just like Tony.
We'll be back, same time, same place next week.
Bye.